In the capital, everyone says that Song Wu is a stunning beauty, worthy of being matched with my husband, the most handsome man in the world. I scoffed at the notion, believing that my husband only loved me. It wasn't until the moment when Song Wu fell seriously ill that my husband turned the blade towards me. Yaoyao, I once saved your life. Now, use this life of yours to give it back to Wu'er. 1. In the third month of the Miaojiang Great Flood, the dikes and dams at the Xia Pass collapsed, countless villages and tribes were washed away, and the Miaojiang people suffered injuries and scattered. As a Miaojiang woman, I possessed the skill of crafting gu but was powerless against natural disasters. Just as I was about to be swept away by the floodwaters, Xiao Mian, mounted on a horse, broke through the water and rescued me. The southern region's dikes stretched for kilometers, and the Miaojiang forces suffered heavy losses, making it impossible to gather people and horses to repair the dikes. As my father, the king, was preparing to use his remaining years to summon zombies from the land to bury the riverbed, Xiao Mian arrived with 10,000 soldiers and, within 10 days, saved the entire Miaojiang. To repay the kindness to the country and fulfill my father's promise to Xiao Mian, offering him the most precious treasure of Miaojiang, Xiao Mian smiled lightly, gazing at me tenderly, and spoke with determination. King of Miao, there's no need for such courtesy. Xiao has already found the most precious treasure of Miaojiang. It depends on whether King of Miao is willing to part with it. I laughed, with a freshly peeled grape in my mouth. The next moment, I found myself in an embrace. What has my beloved Yaoyao thinking about that brings her such joy? Xiao Mian asked. I reached around his neck playfully, thinking about your promise in front of my father. To devote your heart to Yaoyao alone. Xiao Mian held me even tighter, his warm breath drawing closer, only love for Yaoyao, not letting down what the king of Miao entrusted. 2. Waking up from a nap, Xiao Mian had already gone to attend court. He was now the second-ranked general of the valiant cavalry, and military affairs in the camp were busy and complicated. Concerned about his exhausting official duties, I tidied up the entire backyard meticulously. When I had leisure time to appreciate the flowers, I couldn't help but marvel. The Miaojiang holy maiden, who used to indulge in mountains and rivers, raise snakes, and manage the nobility, had become a poised and capable general's wife. Today, Xiao Mian returned late, well into the third quarter of the noon. The dark green carriage of the general's mansion was nowhere to be seen. I stood in front of the gate, anxiously looking around. After half an hour passed, the scorching sun forced me to enter the courtyard. Madam, the general has returned. I got up from the rocking chair. Fengling, serve the tiger-faced dish, the general must be hungry. Running to the main hall, Xiao Mian was already sitting at the dining table. Just as I was about to call my husband, I saw a woman sitting next to him. The woman had a beautiful appearance, dressed in plain clothes that seemed soft and boneless. The distant mountain-patterned ash-colored veil was appropriately subtle, as if she had walked out of a painting. However, her face was deathly pale, devoid of any color, like a beautiful woman in distress. Xiao Mian's expression was one of careful and protective demeanor that I had never seen before. When he interacted with me, it was usually filled with tenderness and teasing, and this kind of protectiveness seemed unfamiliar in his eyes. Feeling a slight unease, I approached and sat next to him. Xiao Mian affectionately pinched my cheek. Wife, this is Song Wu, the third daughter of the Grand Minister of the Western Street, who has been cultivating in Yangzhou for 3 years. She returned to the capital just yesterday and is my childhood playmate. He introduced her openly, and I breathed a sigh of relief. Hello, younger sister Song Wu. Just call me Yaojia. Since you are Xiao Mian's sister, you are naturally my sister too. Song Wu's face was pale, and her eyebrows slightly furrowed as if lost in thought, looking at me with an expressionless face. Just as I was about to speak again to ease the atmosphere, Song Wu weakly coughed twice. Brother Xiao, I have a pain in my chest and feel nauseous. Xiao Mian supported her as if facing a formidable enemy, gently patting her back with one hand. Doesn't this dish suit your taste? After 3 years of cultivation in Yangzhou, your health has improved a lot. I didn't expect you to still be so delicate. As he spoke, he familiarly took out a packet of candy from his sleeve and, peeling off the wrapper, fed it to Song Wu. This will relieve the nausea. Song Wu's complexion improved slightly, her eyes sparkling with shyness. Much better now, Brother Xiao is still the best. He remembered that I loved Qi Qingzhang after all these years. You, too, spoiled. Xiao Mian sighed helplessly. Their intimacy made it difficult for me to intervene. Despite being Xiao Mian's wife, I felt like an outsider at this moment. I clenched my fists, restraining the growing suspicion within myself. 3. After settling in the general's residence, Song Wu was given a specially arranged Ruo Shu Gu in the southern courtyard by Xiao Mian. This Ruo Shu Gu was located by the pond, with a 100-year-old silver ginkgo tree in the courtyard. When autumn arrived, the scene would be a spectacle of golden armor covering the sky. I had wanted to move to this side, but Xiao Mian said the southern courtyard was too remote and not suitable for managing the household. After Wu recovers from her serious illness, Ruo Shu Gu is clean and most suitable for her recuperation. If you want to see the ginkgo tree, I'll take you to the Bodhi temple next time to admire the 500-year-old silver ginkgo tree personally planted by Emperor Gaozong. Emperor Gaozong personally planted the silver ginkgo? I wasn't particularly fond of this anecdote. It was rumored that Emperor Gaozong had led a dissolute life, indulging in pleasures of both sexes. However, at the age of 40, he encountered a tea-picker woman who, despite her ordinary appearance and humble background, captivated him. He forcefully brought a married woman into the palace. The tea-picker woman did not love Emperor Gaozong, nor was she adept at court intrigues. After 3 miscarriages in 2 years, she hanged herself under the silver ginkgo tree at the Bodhi temple during the annual memorial ceremony. Emperor Gaozong, heartbroken and furious, had the ginkgo tree chopped down. Yet, he regretted it for the rest of his life. Before his death, he personally planted a new ginkgo tree in the same spot, leaving a testament that read, "The temple may be relocated in 1,000 years, but the tree must not be moved." Every time I thought of this story, I sighed deeply. If he couldn't protect the woman he loved, why force her into a pit of fire? The tea-picker woman was innocent and should have led a happy and fulfilling life with her husband, even if it wasn't one of opulence and wealth. Emperor Gaozong's love for the tea-picker woman was beyond doubt, yet that love eventually turned into a weapon that killed her. Why did Song Wu come to our residence for recuperation? The Grand Master of Luxuriance doesn't seem incapable of supporting her, I asked coldly. Sensing my dissatisfaction, Xiao Mian brought me over and sat me on his lap, gently stroking my waist, his accustomed soothing gesture when I was angry. Don't be upset, Yaoyao. Master Song's residence is on the street, with loud noises from carriages and vendors. Their mansion is filled with the scent of books, not as comfortable as our residence. Wu will stay here for half a year, and once she recovers, she'll go back home. My expression remained tense. Why be so protective of an unmarried daughter like her? Xiao Mian released me and frowned, displeased. Yaoyao, your words are a bit too much. Wu and I have had a pure and innocent relationship since childhood. Am I wrong to say that? She's at a marriageable age. Even if she doesn't avoid men unrelated to her by blood, she shouldn't go as far as entering someone's household. The reputation you value so much in the capital won't be effective for her. Everyone in the capital knows that Song Wu and I grew up like siblings. Yaoyao, don't be overly sensitive. I stood up from his lap, lifted his hairpin adorned with a jade cylinder, and traced it from his face down to his neck with my vermilion-tinted fingertips. As the jade hairpin approached his Adam's apple, I stared deeply into his eyes. If General Xiao betrays me, there's nothing I can do. After all, national loyalty takes precedence. If there comes a day when you change your heart for someone else, please inform General Xiao early. I'll gladly step aside. The scent of drunken orchid, which I applied in the morning, lingered around his sharp senses, his favorite fragrance. Xiao Mian fell silent, and a heaviness settled in my heart. However, he soon embraced me again. All right, Yaoyao, don't overthink things. 4. There is a pod in the Miao region that does not harm people, only hears the truth. If someone speaks falsehoods, it bites the heart and intestines anew. In the center of the general's mansion is a large crescent-shaped lake. I often keep red-headed tigerfish and ink-black dragon-clear butterflies in it, one red and one blue, both exceptionally lively. But today, while feeding them, I noticed that many red-headed tigerfish were missing. I managed the household strictly. 2 years ago, an old servant disrespected me as a Miao woman. Instead of openly resisting, he secretly went against my wishes. When he saw I didn't fight back, he went even further, colluding with unsavory characters, intending to harm me. Had I not detected the fragrance of the bewitching incense, I might have become a lifeless corpse by now. I directly applied the truth charm to her body, tortured her for 3 days, and only then did she confess her crime. The moment she pressed her guilty statement, I took out a dagger and cut her throat, filling the entire hall with the smell of blood. Since then, I've suppressed everyone in the general's mansion who looked down on me. And the fish? The servant responsible for guarding the lake suddenly knelt down, trembling, and said, "Madam, forgive me." Miss Song. Miss Song took some of the fish to feed her black cat, saying they were plump. The servant's voice grew softer, and my anger intensified. Did Song Wu really think the general's mansion belonged to her? Wind Chime, who loved those fish, jumped 3 feet high in excitement. "Holy maiden, she dared to drive away your fish." I patted Wind Chime's head, concealing the killing intent in my eyes. "Wind Chime-sen, bring your vine whip. We're going to have a meeting with that woman who doesn't know her place." There is a small pond in the Roa Shui pavilion, perpetually accumulating pondweed. In the past few days when no one was around, the stagnant water vapor made it unpleasant to approach. Now, it's only been a few days, and the small pond is crystal clear with a visible bottom. Many precious jade steelhead fish are swimming in it. This fish species is exceptionally rare, and this year, it's heard that the southern cloud country contributed only 10 tails. Song Wu is currently resting with her cat. In a small basin beside the teakwood rocking chair, there are several fish bones mixed with minced red meat, which is nauseating. I counted them, and there were exactly 10 fish in the pond. How laughable, truly laughable. I love raising goldfish, and every year, Xiao Mian pleads with the emperor to leave the named breeds of goldfish delivered as tribute for me. However, his attentiveness this year has shifted to another woman. "Xiao Mian, how can I believe your words of pure and blameless?" Song Wu's maid wanted to call her, but a glance from me scared her away. I took the vine whip from Wind Chime and fiercely lashed it toward the rocking chair. Ah! The rocking chair overturned, and Song Wu fell to the ground. The black cat yowled and jumped away. Song Wu turned to see me calmly retracting the whip. She immediately got up and questioned me, "Yaoyao, what are you doing?" She was full of vigor, a far cry from her weak appearance a few days ago. "Done pretending? Healed? Then please, Miss Song, return to the Bai family." "Don't provoke my annoyance," I said lightly, but there was a sharpness in my tone. Song Wu realized the situation, took out a handkerchief, and pretended to cough a few times. "I don't know where I offended Sister Yaoyao. Wu'er will definitely correct it promptly. I just hope Sister Yaoyao won't drive Wu'er out of the mansion. Wu'er's body is not well and needs quiet recuperation." I smiled lightly, the whip in my hand itching to move. Quiet recuperation? What a nice quiet recuperation. So quiet that you traveled thousands of miles just to maliciously disturb my fish before leaving contentedly? Song Wu's eyes flashed with understanding, and she spoke with a triumphant tone, "So, it's about this matter. Sister Yaoyao, you come from the small country of Miaojiang, naturally, you're used to being narrow-minded. Wu'er won't bother with you. It's just a few red-headed tiger fish. They were eaten by that 100-tail black cat, and it's their blessing." I was greatly shocked. Could this woman's brain be damaged? I talked to her about fish, and she responded with silver. "Sister Yaoyao, if you feel distressed, I'll give you these jade sealhead fish as a gift. After all, they were sent by Brother Xiao to please me, she boasted, flaunting my husband's favoritism toward her. For a moment, my heart felt like it had fallen into an icy cave. There's no choice when flowers fall, the verses of the ancients always contain hidden accusations. So, what would be the next step? Xiao Mian, will we end up with, from now on, I have no heart to love a good night, let the bright moon shine on the west tower? The arrogance in her eyes turned into a storm, and she shifted her gaze to the fish bones on the ground. I gave a cold command, someone, pack Miss Song's belongings and send her back to her residence. Song Wu protested, what right do you have to drive me away? Aren't you afraid Brother Xiao will blame you when he comes back? I stepped forward, pinching her chin and sneering, just because I am the mistress of the general's mansion. Just because I am the wife officially married to him by Xiao Mian. Song Wu gritted her teeth, you wait and see. Brother Xiao will personally come to take me back. I released her, disdainfully wiped my hands with a handkerchief, and lazily looked at her. Then, I'll be waiting. 5. After Xiao Mian returned to the mansion, he didn't say much about Song Wu being sent away by me. However, he became much colder towards me. The women in the city, who loved to gossip, speculated on what had happened when they learned that Song Wu had been sent back to the Song residence. Wind chimes reported daily on the gossip progress to me. Starting from, Miss Song has regained General Zhao's favor, to General Xiao and Miss Song's old love rekindled, I heard things like, the Miaojiang Holy Maiden is as venomous as a snake and scorpion, she poisoned Miss Song, and General Xiao was also poisoned, which is why he agreed to send Miss Wei away, and Miss Song's life is short. The rumors escalated, and Xiao Mian finally erupted. After dinner one evening, he suggested bringing Song Wu back to the general's mansion. Bring her back? What does she think she's coming back for? Furthermore, General, what reason do you plan to use to bring her into our mansion? Is she your legitimate sister, or? It seemed like I hit the mark, and he hurriedly defended himself. She's just a sickly girl, what can she do to you? Yaoyao, it's just a courtyard. Do you have to nitpick with me? If you like that tree so much, I'll chop it down and plant it in your yard. How about that? At this point, he was still trying to change the subject. He knew about my jealousy, knew about my unease. That night, he chopped down the ginkgo tree and placed it horizontally in my yard. His guards only left a remark, the tree you wanted is for you. Plant it wherever you like. I chuckled, the silver snake coiled around my fingertips hissing as it released a venomous breath. Even though the guards were well trained and disciplined, they couldn't hide their horror at the poisonous little plaything on my fingertips. Madam, the message has been delivered. I'll take my leave now, he said, his tone shifting to one of respect. However, within this respect, there was more fear. He must have remembered my identity, a Miaojiang holy maiden with a heart as cold as a snake and scorpion. Tell Xiao Mian that if Song Wu enters the mansion, he won't get a single, clear heart cover from me. At that time, my father promised Xiao Mian unconditional access to the clear heart cover as a token of gratitude for saving the country. Later, when he married me, it became my responsibility to fulfill that promise. His birth mother suffered from heart disease and had to take the clear heart cover every month to cleanse the impurities in her heart to survive. I wanted to see, in his heart, who was more important, his birth mother or Song Wu. After the guard left, the silver snake, tired from spitting venom, curled up in my palm and fell asleep. A cool breeze swept by, and wind chimes draped a thin cloak over me. Holy maiden, are you really not giving the clear heart cover? I touched the cold snake body, silent for a moment. In the end, it's just one life. If he wants it, how can I really refuse? 6. Under my blustering intimidation, Xiao Mian remained quiet for a while. It wasn't until Song Wu attempted suicide by hanging but survived that he spoke up. When Song Wu, displaying faint, nearly invisible ligature marks on her neck, greeted me, I was immersed in studying the art of controlling corpses. Sister, as I said, Xiao Kugij will personally bring me back. I closed the ancient book, glancing at her. What? Did you catch Xiao Mian committing murder and arson? He indulges you like this. You. Humph, Xiao Gij can't bear to part with me, so he brought me back. Your jealousy is useless. Jealousy? Was I jealous? As I touched my chest, feeling the steady heartbeat, I suddenly felt like I might indeed be jealous. Reflecting on these years, Xiao Mian and I had been harmonious and close. There were countless times when I thought we would spend our lives together. I thought I had encountered the best man in the world, but who knew that even the most delicious food could go bad? In Miaojiang, there was an elder who lived to be 108. A few days before her transcendence, she had a twilight appearance, weak and on the verge of death. As the holy maiden, I chanted mantras for her, offering abundant blessings. The elder, with hands reduced to mere bones, touched my forehead and her eyes suddenly brightened. Holy maiden, let go of what you can't get. Don't be obsessed. Fate is predetermined. After saying that, the elder's arm dropped, and she transcended. At that moment, the elder had already seen the twists and turns in my love life, warning me not to ruin my own path. Suppressing the feelings of envy, I exhaled, ignoring Song Wu, and walked away. 7. Xiao Mian is a military general. Though strategic and cunning, he lacks acting skills. He claims to treat Song Wu as a sister, but his unmistakable affection for her cannot be concealed. Every day, Song Wu feigns illness, with slightly pale lips, prompting Xiao Mian to anxiously summon the court physician. Sometimes, he even feeds her medicine in front of me, completely treating her like a child. I endure the heartache, observing with cold eyes, but every time I see Song Wu's provocative gaze, it's as if she's saying, "Look, the person your husband loves the most is me." In reality, she doesn't need to prove it. No need to fake illness, pain, or fatigue. She only needs to furrow her brows, and Xiao Mian is eager to present the best things to her. For example, at the dining table, despite having a beef brisket stew that I love, Song Wu just lightly mentions a hint of fishiness, and the dish is immediately discarded. If Song Wu mentions a slight chest pain at midnight, he will stay sleepless outside her courtyard all night. Gradually, I realize that in Xiao Mian's eyes, I am not even comparable to Song Wu's black cat. As usual, I go to the lakeside in the morning to feed the fish, while Feng Ling goes to the small kitchen to fetch my breakfast. These days during breakfast, their intimate interactions in front of me are nauseating, and I prefer to have a quiet meal alone. As I sprinkle the fish food as usual, not a single fish emerges. Sensing something amiss, I wonder if the previous unfortunate incidents are recurring. Upon inquiry, it turns out to be true. Last night, Miss Song complained of a headache and couldn't sleep. General accompanied her here to fish, and they caught all 18 fish in the pond. I didn't need to think too much. Most likely, the 18 chubby little fish I had raised were mostly devoured by that mysterious black cat. She stole my man and didn't even leave me the fish. This was too much. The silver snake sensed my anger and slithered out from my sleeve, hissing, igniting my murderous intent. When Wind Chime returned and saw the missing fish, she didn't seem as angry as last time. Saintess, this servant will go and kill her. Wind Chime, trained as my guard since childhood, was skilled in corpse manipulation and poison making, and she had a wild temperament. I stopped her. When I released the silver snake at night, watching it swiftly disappear into the grass, Wind Chime smiled. The silver snake has been nurtured with the saintess's blood for several years and now possesses the power to control insects. That fake patient won't sleep well tonight. Sure enough, before midnight, the general's residence erupted into a piercing scream. In less than a moment, the mansion was brightly lit, and the main gate was wide open. Wind Chime said the general had left on a fast horse. After a while, Wind Chime mentioned that the general brought back a doctor. It was indeed a shame for a dignified and grand general to be involved in the affair of breaking into someone's home and forcibly abducting a doctor. The mansion gradually quieted down, with fewer servants carrying basins and sulfur back and forth. Half an hour later, Xiao Mian arrived with a knife. "Hey Yaoyao, did you have a hand in this?" He wore a black robe, a silver belt tightening around his waist, holding a large knife pointing towards the ground, gripping the handle tightly, veins bulging in his hand. It seemed he was truly enraged. Without even wiping the blood bitten by insects on his face, he came to confront me. But I have never been easy to deal with. Rising from the jade steps with one hand supporting my body, although I was a bit shorter than him, my eyes met his disdainfully. "General Xiao, feeling regretful now? When you caught the fish from the pond to feed the cat last night, did you feel any regret for me?" He frowned, and the strength in the hand holding the knife diminished slightly. "It's just a few fish. I will ask His Majesty for a few identical ones to return to you. There's no need to hurt anyone. This guy, always trying to please His Majesty alone." She repeatedly provoked me. Why should I tolerate her? "Xiao Mian, she is your good sister, not mine." Xiao Mian closed his eyes wearily. "Yaoyao, husband and wife are one entity. So, naturally, she is also your sister." "No, which sister clings to her brother and doesn't let him return home at night?" "Xiao Mian, you haven't slept in our bedroom for 2 months. During these 2 months, every night, you've been at the Willow Pavilion. I really don't know whether your relationship with her is clear or not." A hint of guilt flashed in Xiao Mian's eyes. He put down the knife and walked towards me, gently embracing my waist. "Yaoyao, it's a critical period for Wu, and she can't afford to be hurt anymore. Once she recovers, I will return to our room." "Heh, once she recovers?" "After she recovers, you probably can't wait to welcome her into our room, right, Xiao Mian? You are really filthy." I stared at him steadily, uttering these words one by one. Xiao Mian was instantly angered and embarrassed. After releasing me, he made a harsh remark, "Since you have such dirty thoughts, then I'll go along with your wishes and bring her into the residence." "Well, go ahead. Eventually, I will divorce you. Stay far away from this unfaithful man." Although the Miao territory has suffered greatly due to natural disasters, our diplomatic ties have lasted for a century. As long as I insist on divorce, Xiao Mian can't do anything to stop me. 8. The next day, I went to see Song Wu. She was lying in bed, covered in red and swollen insect bites, with a dense rash on her face. It seemed that my precious silver snake lived up to my expectations. Song Wu was exceptionally excited when she saw it. Her eyes widened, revealing an expression of extreme distress. I chuckled once and said playfully, "If it weren't for the dry climate in the north, with fewer insects, you might not even have any bones left. What a pity." Song Wu endured the stinging pain and spoke with a cold tone, "He Yaoyao, you despicable and cunning villain. I will report to my father and complain to the emperor about your plot to harm an official and take lives." I dusted off my skirt and rolled my eyes, saying, "Go ahead, I'd like to see whose family official you're relying on. Is it the daughter of the Grand Master or the concubine of General Xiao?" Raising an eyebrow with a faint smile, I made it clear that even if Song Wu struggled, it was futile. I wouldn't be so kind as to give up my position promptly. Before leaving, I wanted Song Wu to be known as a concubine. A concubine, a servant. Song Wu was quickly accepted into the residence. Unlike the ordinary concubines who rode in pink sedan chairs, she was escorted by 200 soldiers and carried in on an 8-bearer grand sedan chair. A lady from the capital's marquee mansion, who was well acquainted with me, complained during a casual conversation. "When Xiao Mian married you, the dowry was only 88 loads, but for a little concubine, it became 99 loads. He Yaoyao, you married the wrong husband, truly." "Yes, I've been wrong from the beginning." To ease my distress, the lady consoled, "Forget it, nowadays, which daughter isn't like this? Husbands' hearts are like the sea, and concubines have nowhere to rely. Fortunately, the general's mansion is wealthy and prosperous. You won't have to worry about your livelihood." I picked up a fruit from the table and handed it to her, glancing at it from side to side. "Sister Gu, look, this golden plum is exceptionally precious. The tiny fruit has to be perfectly round and lustrous before being delivered to our table, and now we've eaten it. It's destined to be both luxurious and delicate, but after I left it out for just one day, it developed spots, and the taste is certainly not as good as before. Even a plum has its temper, why can't I? Besides, in my Miao territory, stretching across 100,000 miles in the southern region, I have no worries about my livelihood. She's a sensible person. Before leaving, she only said, if you need help, just send a message to the Marquis Mansion. 9. Song Wu fell ill with an old ailment after just 2 days of struggling. It wasn't my doing, I merely made a sarcastic remark, and she fainted out of anger. On this day, Sister Gu brought me an invitation, saying it was the Empress Dowager's birthday banquet next month, inviting renowned families from the capital. The Empress Dowager and Sister Gu were close friends, and she specifically instructed Sister Gu to invite me to the palace. She mentioned it was to show support for me. I felt warmth in my heart and expressed my gratitude, holding Sister Gu's hand. Don't be estranged from me. Over the years, when the Empress Dowager had migraines, if you hadn't devotedly controlled the pain-causing Gu, the Empress Dowager might have suffered. Now that you're going through tough times, we naturally want to help and support you. The pain-causing Gu is actually a simple little thing. Migraines are mainly caused by cold in the blood, and by raising insects with a warm nature that consume blood with cold energy, the migraine can be alleviated significantly. While discussing the Empress Dowager's condition, somehow Song Wu got wind of the news and dared to intrude into my courtyard. Sister Gu was still present, and Song Wu acted politely, seemingly composed. Madam Ho, greetings. I am Song Wu, the daughter of Grand Master Song, the Minister of Rites. Upon hearing of your arrival, I thought it was to welcome guests. Sister Gu frowned, finished the last sip of her cold tea, and said, Yaoyao, I have matters to attend to at home. I'll take my leave now. See you in the palace on the 5th day of next month. Song Wu lost face, her face turning iron blue. Hey Yaoyao, don't get too proud. They only favor you because you are the primary wife. One day, General Shao will elevate me to be his equal wife. I lazily turned around, observing her. Since joining the general's residence, her illness had diminished significantly. She looked radiant as usual today. Miss Song, is your illness much better now? Song Wu touched the emerald-studded gold necklace around her neck and smirked. Thanks to Brother Zhao's daily care, I'm sure I can live a long and healthy life, healthy enough to bear 5 or 8 children for Brother Zhao. Well, I wish you good health. Go ahead and have children, like a sow releasing a litter of 10 piglets without any problem. Upon hearing this, Wind Chime burst into unrestrained laughter, and the maidservants beside her stifled their giggles at my vulgar words. Song Wu was infuriated and fainted. After morning court, in a hurry, Xiao Men returned home to check on Song Wu. The physician said her old ailment had relapsed. Seeing that Xiao Men was solely focused on taking care of Song Wu, I quietly called the physician over and, with apparent curiosity, asked, what old ailment? The physician replied, inflammation of the heart. Inflammation of the heart. I turned sharply and saw Xiao Men holding Song Wu's hand, his eyes fixated on her. Inflammation of the heart, the one that requires my clear heart Gu to survive. I silently left the room, my face pale, breathing irregular, almost unable to stand. Wind Chime supported me, asking in concern, Holy Lady, what's happening to you? I regained my composure, looked at Wind Chime, and spoke with an icy tone, summon the horse. Riding to the listening bamboo mountain, it was already afternoon, the sun shining brightly. I wiped the sweat from my forehead, looking at the bamboo garden in this deep mountain, the place he said housed his birth mother. Back and forth, I searched twice, and I finally confirmed that there was no one here. 3 years, Xiao Men, you deceived me for 3 years. All those precious treasures, all those declarations of love for only me, they were all lies. 10. Turning around and looking at this simple courtyard in the bamboo forest, I secretly scolded myself for being blinded by a man. He said his birth mother liked tranquility, so she really didn't come to visit. He said he felt sorry for his mother suffering from heart disease, and I really spent a lot of energy every month making a large amount of clear heart goo. Xiao Men, you clearly knew. Goo worms would consume my yang qi and, in severe cases, even shorten my life. So from the beginning, I was just a medicine jar for Song Wu. No wonder Song Wu had an old illness in the past 2 months. Was it because I was angry with him and didn't give him clear heart goo? Xiao Men, is that so? My heart was tearing inch by inch, about to catch fire. My temper was already bad when I was in Miao territory, and now it's worse. Feng Ling, burn down this house. The autumn wind was the most fierce. The fire raged, contrasting with the blood-stained sunset. The wind lifted the hem of my clothes, and I rode through, breaking through the ash haze caused by the fire. Xiao Men soon learned about my setting the bamboo house on fire. Perhaps knowing that I had learned the truth, he felt a bit guilty. At lunch, I had little appetite. I picked and chose a few bites of food and felt bored. Xiao Men took care of Song Wu for several days without rest, and his eyes were already tinged with blue. He was wearing a plain blue round-necked gown, and the jade ring at his waist was carved by me with flowers and a full moon. He squatted beside me, holding my hand and gently kneading it, softly explaining his difficulties. Yaoyao, I love you, and I cannot deny it. 3 years ago, when I went to Miao territory, it was to find a way to treat Wu Wu's heart disease. But when I saw you for the first time, I couldn't help falling in love with you. Suppressing the desire to vomit, I pulled my hand out of his, picked up a chopstick of cucumber, and suppressed the nauseating feeling. Xiao Men really has the nerve to say such things. If I hadn't read the script and known the classic quotes from those lines, I might have been fooled by him again. Love me? Xiao Men, do you even believe the words you say? Xiao Men hurriedly said, Yaoyao, my love for you is as evident as the sun and moon, but Wu Wu has a congenital heart disease, and I had no choice but to save her. Had no choice but to save? Xiao Men, if you had sincerely told me that the clear heart goo was for her, if you had honestly treated her as a sister, wouldn't I have done my best to help her? But you didn't. From the very beginning, you lied to me, deceived me, and fooled me, all just to make her healthy and become your wife. My eyes turned red, and the pain in my chest couldn't be stopped. In these 3 years, I poured everything into him, both body and soul. Faced with his betrayal, I undoubtedly hated him to the extreme. Tears flowed uncontrollably, startling him. He used to joke that I was like a stone, never showing weakness or surrender. Now, seeing me shed tears, he unexpectedly began to feel distressed. He cupped my face, wiping away my tears with his fingertips. After a long sigh, he said, I grew up in the countryside. When I was 8, my father died of illness, and our family was already weak. In less than a year, we were destitute. Thanks to my birth mother's wisdom, she entered the Song family as a servant and earned us a place to live. I was raised by Lord Song as Wu Wu's personal guard from a young age. Wu Wu is clearly just 1 year younger than me, but when I first saw her, she was so frail that she couldn't reach my shoulders. She asked me to accompany her in learning to read and share meals with her. She said she was afraid she wouldn't live past 15, so she wanted to give me the best and, in return, I would protect her for a lifetime. At the age of 13, our birth mother unexpectedly passed away. Wu Wu stayed up all night with me, saying she would treat me as her own brother from now on, so that I wouldn't be alone and helpless in this world. As we grew older, Wu Wu's illness became more severe, and I suddenly realized that being just a guard was not enough to protect her. So I went to Lord Song and told him that I wanted to join the military. With his support and my dedication on the battlefield, I finally climbed to a high position. Once in a high position, I learned that there is a goo in Miao territory specifically for treating heart diseases. So I hurried to Miao territory to seek the goo, coincidentally encountering a major disaster there. I saved Miao territory, Yaoyao, considering the debt of gratitude to the country. Can we not hold the past against Wu Wu? As he spoke, he embraced me and buried his face in my neck, gently rubbing against it. In the past, I would have considered his perspective, but now I pushed him away. It's precisely because of the debt of gratitude that I didn't directly kill her, Xiaomen. Why should you sacrifice me to repay your debt? Also, don't bring up the debt of gratitude. You know very well that in these 3 years, Miao territory has contributed numerous treasures, secret medicinal formulas, and a constant flow of wealth to Zhou Kingdom. Last year, during the epidemic in Zhou Kingdom, Miao territory sent herbal prescriptions and saved almost the entire kingdom. As for this debt, Miao territory has long since repaid it. Xiaomen was caught off guard and pushed down by me. An expression of annoyance appeared between his eyebrows, nearly revealing his true nature. I tapped my fingertips on the table and calmly laid out the conditions. All your lengthy speeches boil down to wanting the clear heart goo, right? Fine, I agree. The clear heart goo will be delivered immediately upon our separation. Xiaomen got up from the ground. It's impossible, Yaoyao. Why don't you believe in my sincerity? His eyes were slightly red, portraying a look of being wronged. Thinking back over these 3 years, he did use genuine feelings. However, this sincerity was never worth mentioning in front of Song Wu. For a year's supply of clear heart goo, I'm willing to agree to our separation. You won't lose out. A year would be enough to heal Song Wu. However, Feng Ling urgently warned, Holy Maiden, you mustn't. Clear heart goo is difficult to produce, and each goo can only be used once. Once it enters the body, it dissipates in the blood to nourish and strengthen. If you want to make a year's supply of clear heart goo, it's likely to consume most of your life. Xiaomen sighed bitterly. Are you willing to sacrifice half your life but unwilling to continue loving me? It sounded like an earth-shattering joke, and I couldn't help but burst into laughter, tears streaming down my eyes. Oh, Xiaomen, I've never loved you. To put it plainly, the Xiaomen I loved is already dead in my heart. Yes, I loved Xiaomen. I loved the one who was wholeheartedly devoted to me, the Xiaomen who had eyes only for me. But such a Xiaomen, it turns out, never existed. 11. Song Wu has been sustained by ginseng all along. I am not in a hurry, after all, it will take a month for Father King to bring the separation letter to the capital. He is the one who should be anxious. It wasn't until the Empress's birthday that day that I was meticulously applying makeup, carefully putting on rouge. Thinking that the Empress had treated me well, I had to present myself in good spirits to pay my respects. Suddenly, Xiaomen barged in, holding that familiar large knife. However, this time it wasn't pointing towards the ground but at me. The tip of the knife pressed against my chest, and the piercing pain surged instantly. Hidden waves welled up in my eyes. Make the clear heart goo now, he said coldly. I wasn't afraid, and I even took a step forward. Blood flowed more profusely, staining my clothes. He trembled and stepped back, his tone softening slightly, just this once. As long as she survives, she will recover. TSK, so he miscalculated the timing of her recovery earlier. He thought she had already recovered, hence daring to confront me. Now he realizes there's still a crucial step left. But this step isn't so easy to take. I tilted my head, a smile blooming. Xiaomen, even though making the goo now will shorten my lifespan, do you still want me to do it? This statement might be exaggerated, but it wasn't entirely false. 3 years of continuous goo making had greatly depleted my vitality. Xiaomen's eyes flickered slightly. After a short while, he spoke firmly, Yaoyao, I once saved your life. Now, use your life to save Song Wu. A profound silence fell, as if even breathing had come to a standstill. Fine, separation. And you must kowtow 100 times in front of the general's mansion gate, then I will make the goo. He kowtowed, his head bleeding, his dignity gone. Everyone condemned me as heartless and unfeeling. But only I knew. I was mourning my deceased husband. 12. I didn't give Song Wu a cleansing heart goo, but instead used a subjugation goo, with the mother goo placed on the silver snake. The silver snake is extremely poisonous, capable of inducing a cold yin qi. In just half a year, it can eliminate the root cause of Song Wu's heart ailment. Quite a bargain for her. Song Wu woke up. Upon waking, she immediately complained to me. To spare her feelings, Xiao Men didn't tell her about the kowtowing incident. So, all she remembered was me humiliating her by calling her a pig. In the study, Xiao Men supported Song Wu, looking helpless. Song Wu cried and sobbed uncontrollably, while I, casually clipping my nails, paid no attention. Emperor Jiui looked on with interest. He mentioned how ministers are often reserved, fearing it might affect their reputation, and they don't confide in him, making his life dull. Upon reflection, the imperial harem indeed had only one queen and 2 concubines, all gentle and kind, not stirring up any interesting waves. Speak, Lady Xiao, why did you let the snake harm someone and use insulting language? I sipped the fragrant Junshan silver needle tea and spoke frankly, I dislike her. Song Wu's sobbing intensified. Xiao Men gently wiped her tears, giving me a warning glance. The emperor chuckled, Lady Xiao is straightforward, quite an outspoken person. Thank you for the special commendation, Your Majesty. However, it would be better to address me as Princess Yaoping, as the title Lady Xiao won't last much longer. The emperor understood the reason behind the kowtowing incident at the general's mansion, and he didn't blame me for my audacity. However, after hearing this, Xiao Men couldn't sit still and sternly said, Yaoyao, what nonsense are you talking about? I straightened my back, refraining from rolling my eyes. Xiao Men, today, with His Majesty as our witness, let us part ways amicably. From now on, I will return to Miao territory, and you can marry whomever you please in the capital, shower affection on any sister you desire. I wish you all the best. His Majesty appeared to be only around 27 or 28 years old. As the saying goes, it's challenging for an upright official to intervene in family affairs. He didn't seem decisive but grew impatient watching the tearful Song Wu. The chief eunuch beside him, sensing the emperor's mood, quickly scolded Song Wu, how audacious. Crying in the court is disrespectful and brings bad luck. Someone, escort Miss Song out. Song Wu, frightened, immediately stopped crying and knelt down to apologize. The emperor spoke sternly, enough. This matter isn't easy to judge. General Xiao, I have always disapproved of the practice of favoring concubines over wives. If the authority of the main wife can be undermined by the tears of a concubine, then Princess Yaoping is better off not being the main wife. Xiao Men was silently consoled. Seeing that Xiao Men disagreed with the divorce, Song Wu, at first angry, quickly changed her strategy to support me. Your Majesty, you've misunderstood me. I have been frail since childhood, lacking proper etiquette. I unintentionally offend my sister from time to time. In our household, the main wife makes the decisions, and despite my desire for more freedom, I will do my best to heed the main wife's authority. Her words were clever. Firstly, she implied that Xiao Men's health was not fully recovered and couldn't withstand stress. Secondly, she made it clear to him that she desired more freedom and control in the household. Indeed, Xiao Men hesitated. Without waiting for his hesitation, I knelt directly in front of the emperor. May Your Majesty decree that Yaoping and Grand General Xiao Men part ways. Miao territory is willing to offer 10 doses of the pain relief goo to ensure the empress's well-being for 100 years. The title, Pain Relief Goo, was much more prestigious than Grand General Xiao Men, as it could save the empress from 10 years of headache. As expected, the matter of our divorce was smoothly resolved without my father's intervention. Later, Lady Gu told me that the divorce was a direct order from the empress to the emperor. 13. On the day my father came to pick me up in the capital, it happened to be the joyful occasion of Song Wu being elevated to the status of the official wife. Xiao Men arranged a grand wedding ceremony for her with all the formalities of a legal wife. Originally, I had no intention of attending, but Xiao Men insisted, stating it was to showcase diplomatic relations between our two nations. He specially invited me and my father to participate. I was aware of the rumors circulating outside, mostly painting me as a forsaken woman, a lowly concubine discarded by the general. After giving it some thought, I decided to let my father accept the invitation. On the day of the grand wedding, I wore the ceremonial attire of the Holy Maiden, a pure black gown embroidered with silver cloud patterns. A coiling silver snake-shaped chain adorned my waist, and I wore the traditional silver ornaments of the legitimate Holy Maiden, with every step accompanied by the jingling of bells. When he saw me, Xiaomen was entranced, forgetting even to bow during the marital ritual. He saw the Miao Territory Holy Maiden from 3 years ago, the one who was bold, enchanting, and innocent. Song Wu was furious, glaring at me periodically while waving her fan. I laughed arrogantly, casually stroking the small silver snake. If I wanted to, I could easily lure out the Mother Gu, and she would meet the King of Hell within 3 days. But after some consideration, I decided against it. After all, foolish women in this world were not in abundance. Not even half an hour after being sent into the bridal chamber, a female attendant by Song Wu's side quietly called me over. What kind of drama was she planning now? Regardless, I was going back to Miao Territory. I would enjoy her performance one last time. Song Wu, adorned in splendid attire, sat gracefully on the bed that had witnessed the candlelit night between Xiaomen and me. Without thinking, I blurted out, "Aren't you supposed to be sitting on this bed?" Song Wu's face darkened, but she retorted with pride, "So what? Now the mistress of the general's residence is me. The general belongs to me, and naturally, this bed is also mine." It seems that tonight, Xiaomen's infatuated gaze toward me has provoked her. I shrugged and casually responded, "Feel free. General's lady, what can this humble holy maiden do for you?" Song Bian fixed her gaze on me and suddenly asked, "Hiyu, do you think Brother Xiao ever loved you? If you're here to boast, there's no need. Whom he loves has nothing to do with me." As I was about to leave, Song Wu suddenly shouted, "If you leave, don't bother coming back. Brother Xiao can only be mine for his entire life. Do you think he loves you? He loves me enough to destroy the dams in your Miao Territory for my sake. From the beginning, you were just a medicine jar for my Song Wu. Don't delude yourself into thinking he's yours." I halted, took a sharp breath, and in an instant, the screams, sorrows, displacements, and torrential rains of 3 years ago flooded into my mind. They all coalesced into one sentence: Xiaomen destroyed the dams in Miao Territory. Turning slowly, I looked at Song Wu with disbelief, and using a restrained tone, I asked, "For you, he destroyed the dams in Miao Territory?" Song Wu was momentarily stunned. "You didn't know? Ha ha ha, you didn't know? Fool, have you ever thought about how those Miao Territory dams could be washed away with just a few rainstorms?" Then, she turned maliciously sarcastic, "No wonder you're dressed so provocatively today. Is it to seduce Xiaogij again? Now that you know, hurry up and dye this hope." I rushed to her, delivering 2 harsh slaps to her face. My eyes were dry and bloodshot as I stared at her, emphasizing each word. So, the collapse of the Miao Territory dams wasn't a natural disaster, but a man-made calamity. She touched her face, glared at me menacingly, but reveled in seeing me break down, laughing hysterically. "Ha ha ha, Hiyu, you finally understand, right? I am the one Xiaogij loves the most. You are nothing." Then, she suddenly became melancholic. "Since I met him at the age of 7, he promised to protect me for a lifetime. However, ever since you appeared, he left me in Yangzhou without caring for 3 years. Every time I couldn't sleep at night, thinking about what you and Xiaogij were doing intimately on this bed, I cursed. I cursed you to die a miserable death, cursed you to experience heartbreak like me one day." She spoke through gritted teeth, but I sighed with closed eyes, feeling a surge of anger. "Then you should curse him. Clearly, he just wanted a clear heart Gu, but he insisted on deceiving me into a marriage. It's his vacillation, his breach of trust with you. Thinking that because of these petty emotions, Xiaomen could abandon the lives of thousands in my Miao Territory, I wanted to cut him down." Song Wu had gone mad. Years of sincere trust were traded for Xiao Men's wandering eyes. She couldn't bear to retaliate against Xiao Men, but I was ready. Xiao Men. He caused the deaths and injuries of thousands of my Miao people. He left the southern regions of Miao territory desolate. He severely damaged the country's power and vitality. Liars like him deserved to die. I gracefully turned around, and the hem of my skirt lifted in a semicircle. The sky, at some unknown time, began to drizzle sporadically. In the front yard, the sound of swona and firecrackers erupted, creating a lively atmosphere. I twirled the silver bracelet on my wrist, and the crisp sound of the silver bangles colliding resonated. The silver snake, emitting a message, coiled around my arm, blending with the sound of the light rain falling on the eaves, chanting a hymn of Sanskrit music. The outskirts of Beijing gradually became shrouded in darkness, as if something indistinct was about to emerge from the earth. The rain intensified, soaking my hair, clothes, and face. Standing in the courtyard of the Shao residence, I, as if no one was around, offered my own blood and lifespan as a sacrifice. The art of controlling corpses consumes one's vitality, but in order to seek justice for the unjustly deceased people of Miaojiang, sacrifices must be made. Xiao Mian, you must die. 14. I spat out a mouthful of blood heavily, and a huge thunderbolt struck from the sky, startling the entire courtyard. The sound of silk and bamboo musical instruments paused for a while before resuming. Returning to the lively hall, Xiao Mian was toasting at the table, appearing slightly intoxicated and being supported by two subordinates under his command. Slowly, Xiao Mian walked over. Although his cheeks were flushed, seemingly drunk, I knew him well. The 2 or 3 cups of wine were not enough to quench his thirst, and his eyes remained clear and sober. My father stood beside me, expressing his disdain for him openly. Xiao Mian politely raised his cup to my father. Lord Yu, greetings. I hope everything has been well lately. My father scornfully responded, General Xiao, have some self-respect. On the day of the grand wedding, don't take advantage of my daughter verbally. The others at the table also showed obvious expressions of, what is he doing? Xiao Mian awkwardly laughed twice and then turned to look at me, Yaoyao. I stood up, General, would you like to have a private conversation in the side chamber? Hope flickered in his eyes. The side chamber was separated by my personal order 2 years ago. As a general with a group of rough soldiers under his command, he could be quite fierce when drinking. If he felt uncomfortable, he could easily retreat to the nearby room. So, the side chamber was always stocked with dried hangover herbs. If someone felt unwell, they could simply make a hangover remedy with hot water. After Xiao Mian drank the hangover remedy in one gulp, he cautiously said, Yaoyao, you see, you used to be the most devoted to me. Now, as long as you nod, you can still be the general's wife. I sneered inwardly, my expression growing colder. General, may your second marriage be joyful. I wish you and your wife 100 years of happiness and the early birth of noble offspring. He slumped after hearing my words, reluctance and regret evident in his eyes. Yaoyao, can't we go back to how it was before? A moment of silence filled the room. After a while, I leaned in, using my index finger to lift his chin. Xiao Mian, why did you marry me 3 years ago? Xiao Mian held my other hand and hurriedly replied, naturally, it was love at first sight. My eyes grew even colder. Love at first sight? Well, what about Song Wu? Xiao Mian seemed to want to prove something and hesitated before saying, Yaoyao, at that time, Wu'er was just like a sister to me. Sister? Huh, what a sister. Why did you destroy the dams in my Miaojiang and cause suffering to my people, all for the sake of a sister? I tightened my grip on his chin, and blood seeped through my fingers instantly. Xiao Mian winced and then looked shocked. Yaoyao, listen to my explanation. I exerted more force with my hands, and he pushed me away abruptly, covering the bleeding wound on his chin. Xiao Mian, have you ever thought about going to hell while watching countless lives being washed away before your eyes? Xiao Mian regained his composure, his eyes becoming sharp. Who told you? I wiped the foul-smelling blood off my nails. Oh, who else could it be? Xiao Mian muttered, stupid woman. So, you admit it. He remained indifferent to my probing, casually sipping his tea. Yaoyao, is this matter really so important? After all, I saved your life. You shouldn't blame your savior. A tremendous anger burned within me. Releasing the silver snake, I said, Xiao Mian, this snake carries a deadly poison. One bite can be fatal. If you feel guilty about the unjust deaths of the Miaojiang people, this snake can leave you with an intact corpse. Guilty? Yaoyao, those in high positions must make decisive choices in matters of life and death. They are just insignificant people. Why bother quarreling with me? He still showed no remorse. He still arrogantly dismissed them as insignificant people. He still took pride in the scheme he orchestrated 3 years ago. He still believed that the lives of tens of thousands of innocent people were expendable. A single clear tear slid down from the corner of my eye. In that case, Yao Ping takes her leave. I turned around, my expression instantly adopting the decisive demeanor he mentioned. Xiao Mian, oh Xiao Mian. Kneel and face the Miaojiang lives you've harmed. 15. My father and I left the capital overnight. That night, Song Wu and Xiao Mian celebrated their wedding night with joyous candlelight. The next day, holding the skeletal remains of Xiao Mian, who had been gnawed by zombies until only bones were left, Song Wu hanged herself in the general's residence. From the hushed whispers of the people, it was learned that the resolute General Xiao, though reduced to a mere skeleton, was clearly facing south when he knelt in death. In a single night, the celebration turned into mourning. Everyone knew it was my doing, and they called for my punishment. However, when I exposed Xiao Mian's misdeeds in my position as the Miaojiang Holy Maiden, they threw many rotten eggs at the gates of the general's residence. Xiao Mian, you see, evil is always condemned. I am a decisive and ruthless woman with a heart like a snake and scorpion. Unfortunately, despite Song Wu's devoted love, I spared her life with the silver snake, but she chose to follow you. A foolish woman. Unlike me, the me after revenge, exultant and unburdened. The souls lost in the disaster have finally found peace.